Enlightening podcast. I'm chilling with Langele Chezulu, the director, co-founder, radio presenter.
Former TV producer.
Why are you introducing yourself now? I thought I was doing that, and now
Founded a youth foundation that lasted for 3 months. He also started.
Okay, so this guy is a mess. Let's just put it there and leave it. How are you doing, mess? Okay, so I think let's talk about the past 2 weeks. What was happening? We saw a bunch of things going around. First, a blue cool truck or bus came through, and we went into multiple communities. What were some of your takeaways from the travels going to communities and teaching technologies?
Yeah, so I think it's been amazing. It's been great. I mean, we first talked about a digital roadshow into communities. I think months ago, and we're planning that. Actually, yeah, it was in July when we actually started saying, okay, digital awakening tour or something like that. We just didn't have an idea of how exactly it's going to work out. In fact, we did try out thinking about a couple of areas who are going to partner with. Maybe it was just the too much planning thing. And then finally it happened. And when it happened, no one announced that this is now what we've been dreaming of a couple of months ago. So key takeaways is, I think, one, collaborations are the new competition, if you like.
Yeah.
So I think they're pretty much important, because if you see there was a blue truck, which was Victoria Wasselman. You still have got Oliver representing TechnoHub. You still have got Algorhythmlab. You still have got AlgoAtWork. You've got I Learn to Live. You've got the schools as well. So you see that beautiful collaboration. There's no one who wants to outshine the other type of thing, or the one who wants to benefit the most. In as much as Algorithm was taking a big chunk of the work, but it was just a beautiful collaboration and partnership. So I think if a lot more people are going to be open to partnerships and they're going to be genuine, authentic about it, we're all focusing on the prize, which is the purpose and what we're trying to achieve. I think we can get a lot more done in our communities. And then passion trumps everything, because if you're going to look at that, we didn't have any money. There was no budget set aside for that exercise. It was just all chipping in, making sure that this thing works.
We see pictures. When you look at the pictures, which I think we have, you see pictures, some beautiful pictures of kids flying or running after drones in communities where, if you sit back and you think about it, or if you were to be in a United States, Europe kind of mindset, you would be like, that shouldn't be happening in Africa or something like that. That is peculiar things that is happening in Africa. You see kids actually engaging in this type of stuff when we bring them there. Do you think that is, we are somehow underplaying what kids are capable of? That's number one. Number two, do you think we are providing, that is, as a nation, are we providing enough outlook, enough interest into all these things, all these cool things? And I mean, when you see those pictures, really, you see that there's no difference between maybe a kid from South Africa and a kid from China. They love this. But somehow a kid in South Africa is a consumer. Take me through your thinking about around those pictures, or when you saw that happening. What came to mind?
Yeah, a lot of things came to mind. One of them was the the lack of resources and the support in rural areas, because we saw kids rushing and fighting over a drone to a point where they almost destroyed the drone. And you get to understand the impact of scarcity and how it reshapes the mindset. Because suddenly, when you put in, this one opportunity, which is we are seeing that today in our society amongst African communities, everyone now is fighting over this, because everyone wants a piece of this, and everyone wants to, in fact, everyone wants a big chunk of this because they don't know if tomorrow that thing is going to be around or not. So I think it's one thing I saw the impact that colonialism has had in our communities and the amount of work that is then required to reshape those mindsets that were destroyed a couple of 100 years ago. So I think we've got a bigger task as entrepreneurs to structure content and programs that are going to deal with that problem. Because if we do not deal with that problem, in a couple of years' time, we won't have any consumers to consume the products that we produce. So we definitely need to upskill and grow that market, so that, in a couple of years right now, you just saw one of the first, handsets, in mobile handsets. Who's going to buy that, Was a lot of people are consuming iPhones, a lot of people have got Samsung Galaxies. So the market, the new segment is in rural areas. So if the people in rural areas are not upskilled enough, they're not active economically, then who's going to be buying the products that should be bought? So I think that's amount of work that is required for us to do. And it's great to interact with the potential market and actually get to see what is needed and what do these people require, so that you don't sit in a boardroom with a conditioner and think this is what they need, this is what they want. No, just go there and interact with them and see if, you saw yourself, as you're saying, that you will think that they'll be like, no, we're not interested in a drone, we're not interested in virtual reality. But the reality is they are interested in this stuff. So why not are we packaging the content that is going to fit, the hunger that they have? So, yeah.
And then the next week it was Global Leadership Summit, an interesting show. First of all, before I think I ask you some questions, your take on the overall event?
Yeah. Because it's a bit difficult for me because I was part of the event as well.
Yeah. So yeah. You were one of facilitators.
Yeah. So it was a big challenge for me because as much as I'm used to talking, but I'm not used to talking to a lot of people. Plus, another thing is, if I do talk to people, it's never in those environments where there's now lights all of a sudden. There's lights and there is a different audience. So it was a big challenge, but I think one philosophy that we have at Algorhythmlab is we rarely say no. We always take opportunities, we always take on challenges because we understand that there's always something to learn. Even if technically you would fail at certain things, like I struggle with certain things, but the experience is there. No one is going to take that away from me. So definitely going forward, that is going to help me with my outlook, with my confidence, with how I see things, with how I approach things. But the show itself is world class. Of course, there are going to be mistakes here and there, but the planning and the energy and the coordination is just perfect.
We saw one of the things that was happening, which I think most people don't know about, was we saw DLS had an emerging leaders tickets, and as Algorithm we had about 5 of those. Six of those, yeah. And with those 6, I get everyone else who was able to come through with us, but there were 2 very interesting high school leaders who came through from one of the rural areas we went to a few weeks ago to teach about technology. First of all, I think tell us or explain why it is important to bring them into that environment. You said yourself that at some point you struggled because of the difference in an environment. The moment you take a kid from a rural area there,
Yeah.
it becomes something else.
Yeah.
Why was that important to bring those kids through? And what can we really look forward to with those kids from now on?
I think we're in the business of reshaping mindsets. And that's what the slogan, say AlgoAtWork says. Reshaping mindsets is we're in that business. So now taking the kids from rural areas and making them at grade 8. I mean, they're doing grade 8. Can you just imagine this? They're attending Global Leadership Summit. Something that they didn't know exists, first and foremost. They never knew that at grade 8 they would attend a world-class event and be a part of it. So just that alone, just coming out of the shell that they are in, is very important with their thinking aspect, because when they go back to the environment, suddenly they start to see things differently. You know, they start to identify gaps, they start to identify problems and come up with solutions. Not just identify them, but also come up with solutions. So that's what we wanted to achieve. That's what we want to achieve. And then them interacting with different cultures from a young age is also crucially important as well. Interacting with Indians, interacting with white people, it builds you as a person, and it grows your confidence. It opens up your outlook also. So that is crucially important. And then thirdly, the content that is delivered at the Global Leadership Summit is crucially important in how they're going to think and build their lives, their careers, and build their families, or whatever, impact communities. So we want them to be a part of the activity so that they learn, and then so that other people also, other kids also looking at them, they can also be an example of why it is important for you, as young as you are, with the little resources that you have, to start working on your dreams and start building as early as possible. So yeah, I think it's great because I interacted with one of them.
I was about to ask you that.
Yeah, so yeah, he learned a lot. He gave me, I mean, speaker by speaker breakdown as to what he learned from Devon Franklin, what he learned from Craig Rochelle, you know. So when you look at that, what we now need to do going forward is, it cannot be a once-off event, you know, because we're not an organization of hype. We don't do things for hype. So hype is great to build or get things started. But going forward now, we need to feed them a lot of content that is going to recondition their mindset, their thinking, so that they can start building sustainably so and solving the problems in their communities. Because we can't always come in there into rural areas with charities and with handouts. People in communities must solve their problems the African way, and that's what we want to preach through the initiatives and the programs that we expose the young people to.
Considering, I think, considering the fact that I'm about to close out, again, I think before we even go further, I should say thanks to I Learn to Live for actually partnering with us on that respect. It has been great working with them. Considering the fact that at the time we were able to get 2 students, someone can say you were able to get 2 students into an event. There is hundreds more of students. What is the plan for other students to make sure that they get just as much, if not more, of interest, of open-mindedness events? They get to attend these things.
Yeah.
What should happen? What is the best approach towards it?
Yeah, well, there is a lot of ways, but if you look at it, for example, when we attended the GLS, there is a Global Leadership Development Fund. So people donate there on that fund so that they can do a lot more in communities. And one of those initiatives is to open up space for emerging leaders. I mean, we had 6 emerging leaders as Algorhythmlab who were part of the event. They had about 50 tickets in total. They now want to increase that to 100. So as Algorhythmlab, we donated also to the Global Leadership Development Fund. So it's one of the steps, so that next year we can have maybe 20 instead of 6. So you see the number is now going up. So it's one of the ways in which we can open up access. One of the ways is a lot more people putting in their 50 rands. I mean, we've got, for example, a non-profit company. Anyone can donate to the company. Anyone can say at any point in time, guys, I love what you do. I believe in this. We definitely need this. I've got 100 rands. I'm going to put this. I've got 1,000 rand. I'm going to put this 1,000 rand into your account, because I know what you guys do and you are, for impact. So, private companies can come through and partner up on such initiatives to make sure that these things happen, because if they're going to happen once in a while, after a few weeks, kids are going to go back to doing whatever that they were doing before we came. So it's important that we bombard them with greatness, with positivity, with, stuff that is going to really open up the access. And it's crucially important that we also use this opportunity to upskill the education system that is a mess, so it's important that we do what we need to do outside of the system to make sure that we beef up, the educational content that kids, get. So, there's a number of things that we need to do. Right now we've got this platform, the Digital Awakening YouTube channel, which also is accessible to pretty much anyone, anywhere in the world, with data, with the little data that they have. So you can also use that. Buy 100 megabytes, watch this, watch that, So, there's a number of the number of ways in which we can approach this is, of course, limitless. But I think we are going to do the necessary steps to make sure that we grow with the resources that we have. But the more support we get, the better, the more impact we can have.
Mabzun, thanks, bro.
Thank you so much, sir.
Looking at the gallery.
Later,
The gallery ko Richards Bay Global Leadership Summit.
And then